Headline News.
Well, that Heat culture is strong.
God, Atlanta. Trae Young got worked in this series.
It was not a great series for Trae Young.
It was not.
So the Heat did not have Jimmy Butler or Kyle Lowry yesterday,
Isn't
but that
crazy?
did not keep them from closing out the series. Now, this game was close at the end. The Hawks did everything they could to stay in this despite Trae Young not having a great performance, but they were pretty good defensively. The offense was a rough watch from both teams, to be honest with you, but the Hawks were able to stay in it with some pretty good defense. But in the end, the Heat prevailed. They are moving on. Victor Oladipo and Bam led the way with 23 and 20 points respectfully.
Victor Oladipo is just a pro. He's been in the league a long time. He's had some injuries, but Victor Oladipo is one of those guys. He can get you buckets. He can get you stops.
He really stepped up. They needed him, obviously being without Jimmy Butler and Kyle Lowry. The defense also stepped up against Trae Young once again. He had 11 points on 2 of 12 shooting, and now Miami will face the winner of the Sixers-Raptors series in the Eastern Conference semifinals. Trae Young also had an obscene amount of turnovers in this series.
But that, again, this series looked a little like Boston and Brooklyn, where they just decided, we're not going to let KD beat us, and we're not going to let, in Miami, we're not going to let Trae Young beat us.
Yes.
And I don't care if everybody else scores 20. Boston's like, we're going to make KD, he's going to get no help. We're going to double him, and he struggled. And Trae Young, I mean, it's pretty obvious what Miami did. Like, okay, rest of you dudes, we're going to give you opportunities.
Right.
Trae's not beating us.
Yeah, and that's what you should do when you have a very top-heavy team, and you have the defensive capability of doing that, and you can actually score on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, that's a Belichickian approach to this series. They both had it, which is just play really great defense and take away the thing that we know you're going to do,
right,
and make your lesser players beat us, which obviously did not happen. Gentleman's sweep for the Heat. I mean, look, I didn't expect the Heat to lose this series. Right. The Hawks get a game that's completely respectful, but Atlanta is going to have to find some way to balance out their roster. It can't all be Trae Young. Look, right. Trae Young struggled, but when a defensive team the level of Miami, the number 1 seed in the East, throws everything they have at you, that's to be expected.
Yeah.
So the Suns are 1 win away from the second round of the playoffs. Phoenix is still without Devin Booker due to a hamstring strain, but was
he's
able
working
to
the refs.
No, he's very involved. Yeah. He is very involved. He's very vocal. He was up out of his seat several times. They were able to take a 3-2 lead on the Pelicans with a 112-97 win in Game 5. I will hand it to the Pelicans, though. They're giving the Suns everything they can handle. Yeah. The Suns are obviously the better team, even without Devin Booker, but this was the score is not reflective as to how close the game was. I mean, how competitive the Pelicans made it throughout the game.
Chris Paul looked exhausted by half. At halftime, he walked in, and I'm like, man, they could be in for a fight here.
The Suns did a great job of holding on to their cushion. Like the Pelicans kept pushing for it, and the Suns were just making shots to keep the lead throughout the second half and did a nice job. Mikal Bridges was the star of the night. 31 points, 5 rebounds, 4 blocks in 47 minutes of play. Chris Paul also had 22 points and 11 assists. So they will have a chance to close out the series on Thursday. Brandon Ingram also added 22 points, and CJ McCollum had 21 points. I think you're learning a lot about this Pelicans team. I think we probably wrote them off a little too soon. It's interesting to imagine what they would look like if Zion was healthy.
Yeah.
And what they'll do in this offseason, rehabbing Zion back and implementing him into what looks like a really good, well-rounded, well-coached roster. I mean, this is the best team in the league, the Suns, that they're pushing and giving them everything they can handle, and it's going to Game 6 right now. So the Suns are favored by 1.5 according to Fox Bet in Game 6, and that'll be a fun watch. So the Warriors are being very careful with Steph Curry when he returned from a foot injury this season, but Steve Kerr said that Steph will no longer be on a minutes restriction.
I love them tonight, big. Love them.
Steph's been coming off the bench in this series against the Nuggets. Kerr wouldn't comment on whether he would rejoin the starting lineup, but it's likely he will get his first start of the playoff run in Game 5. Tonight, they are favored by 8.5. According to Fox Bet, they are up 3-1 on the Nuggets. They
have not struggled.
Tend to agree with you. I think Steph back 100% healthy. They're not gonna play around with the Nuggets and close this out tonight.
They're not struggling to get buckets. They struggled to get stops in Denver in the fourth quarter, but they're not struggling to score. So they're just quicker. They got more good shooters.
Well, I mean, yes, the Nuggets don't have two of their key players. Everything is on Jokic. And to Jokic's credit, this is why he's, at the top of the MVP race. When he goes off, he's going to go off. And if anyone else contributes, it's going to be a rough night for whoever they're playing. But it's just, this is what happens when you play a series. The better team is going to win over a 7-game series.
Right.
And Steph back healthy tonight is big trouble for the Nuggets.
Good stuff. Joy with the news.
Well, that's the news.
It's the Rams in Arizona for the next 5 years. You know how many home games that is? Like I said this before. I don't like taking stuff public. That's just not my jam. But it is way easier to sign a big check every week when you're viable than it is to find that guy. Because they say he's the best high school football player in the history of Texas. That's a lot of dudes. That Vince Young was in that. Vince Young's the best high school football player I've ever seen. And I didn't see Kyler in high school. They're like, this guy's better. Okay. So it's the billionaires, they never struggle to make money and hide it. I mean, 2 days ago, Elon Musk spent $44 billion on an app. And the next day, yesterday, he lost $120 billion Tesla in the stock market. No checks are bouncing for Elon Musk. He got plenty of money. He'll make it back today. Elon Musk is never going to have a money problem. He's going to have a disengaged problem. He may lose top engineers to NASA or other companies. You're never going to have a money problem. This league, and I've been watching the NFL for 40 years. They've never said, we're out of money. They have had years when they run out of good quarterbacks or good players, and we have too many players hurt in October. I've never watched it, and it's like, hey, sheesh, hey, checks are bouncing. We got nothing here. Now you got these now you got all this revenue from gambling companies. It's like I always tell people all the time, when I got into my business, I got a check from radio. It was a fine check. And then I added TV to it, simulcast. And then I got a podcast check, and I have a gambling check. It's like, I can't complain about anything. Like, stop it. The NFL just got a third. They got paid by fans. They got paid by TV networks. The NFL just found a third revenue stream, gambling companies. Money ain't your issue. Finding star quarterbacks, that's where you struggle. Denver had to go to Peyton Manning off his 4th neck surgery to find one. Miami's still looking for one post-Marino. Chicago hasn't had one since, I think the name is Johnny Lujak, who I still contend is a disc jockey in Chicago, was not a quarterback. It sounds like somebody who's spun oldies records, like 94.5, Johnny Lujak in the morning. Apparently he was a quarterback. Like, that's the issue in this league. Finding the guy there. It is never a money issue. Salary cap? Give me a break. Good players always get paid, and the good teams always know how to find $40 under the sofa to pay the star players. Rams, maybe in on Robert Quinn. I heard Robert Quinn this morning's on the market. Wouldn't be shocked if the Rams were like, yeah, we found $9 million. Let's bring him in. Joy with the news.